On the last episode, I was discussing the topic of Sekiro and the current controversy surrounding that game when it comes to difficulty, and how games journalists and other people were calling for easy mode being added into the game. And I expressed my opinion on the issue and where I stand. Essentially, I feel that games should be allowed to be what they are. Not every game is for every person, and people should not expect every game to cater to their specific wants and needs. Having said that, I do want to clarify that does not mean that I don't feel that you have the right to express your opinion, criticizing the game, and giving feedback based on what you would like to see from a game. So I was just giving my opinion. If you disagree with me, that's fine. You have every right to, and that's what makes us unique and special and allow us to come to new terms and new understandings. So I hope that if you disagree, you can see things from my point of view, and maybe I can see things from your point of view. And I do realize that this is a controversial topic, so I'm not wanting to offend anyone. I'm just giving my thoughts on the issue. This episode is going to pick up right where that episode left off, and we are going to continue the discussion today with Sekiro and some other issues surrounding it as it pertains to disabilities. So again, keep in mind that I'm just giving my thoughts and opinions, and I do not mean to offend anyone. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let's get right into the episode. I think I kind of got frustrated because no one's listening to them, no one's giving them what they want. Speaking to the people crying for make this easier, and people were like, nah, no, we want to keep it the way it is, and it's not seem to be, people aren't giving them what they want. A lot of people are whoa, Jesus, we need to tame him anyways. A lot of people are disagreeing with them, and so they did the next best thing, which was to invoke the disabled, which is, to me, like, I hate to be tinfoil hat like and call foul, but I think it's kind of weird that it's like right out of the playbook. I'm not going to say the group of people that I'm thinking of, but it's the victim playbook, right? So now, by not putting a level of difficulty in, you're being exclusionary. You're being discriminatory, right? And so these people are now speaking on behalf of the disabled. And being someone who is disabled, I am frustrated by this. Look at him just throwing the rock. Thanks, buddy. Doing good. I'm just going to move on. Being a member of the disabled, I don't even want to say disabled community, because I don't really think of it like that. I'm not a part of a group. I don't speak for every disabled person, and this is the key. Just because you have a disabled person that says, yeah, this is discriminatory, they don't speak for me. Just because you're disabled, you don't speak for me. I don't speak for you. When I make my Legally Blind videos, I'm not speaking for every other blind person that exists. And just because, the guy from Abled Gamers jumps on this and says, yeah, they need to add this because it's discriminatory, I don't agree with that. And he doesn't speak for me, and IGN doesn't speak for me, and whoever else who says this stuff and tells From Software, you're being exclusionary, you're not adding enough accessibility and all that kind of stuff. They don't speak for me. I'm about as close to being blind as you can get without actually being blind. Those are the exact words of my eye doctor. And I play Dark Souls. There are times where I miss things. There are times where I miss items. There are times where an enemy just comes out of nowhere and creams me. I guess if you were to make the modes easier, then it'd give me better chance to recoup from that. But at the same time, I can also just take the hit, and then next time, no, he's there. So yeah, it doesn't stop me from being able to play the game. They were calling for, this makes it, I'm looking for the stupid things again. They were calling for, people with motor skills. They can't enjoy the game, and then a quadriplegic gets on YouTube and kills a boss in Sekiro. You don't speak for me, dude. And I hate that, I can imagine how other groups feel when these people speak for them. I can't, I guess if you happen to agree with what they're saying, you probably don't mind, but that's the thing. I don't agree with what they're saying. I know that there are probably people out there with cognitive disabilities or whatever that having an easier mode maybe would help them play the game more. And I kind of sympathize with that. And again, that's why it's like, it's fine if you want to debate that topic. Should the game have an easy mode? I don't think so, but you might. That's fine. We can debate about it all day long. I don't think anybody's right or wrong. But what I do have a problem with is when either a one disabled person or even a group of disabled people, or especially a news article, assumes the role to be able to speak on behalf of all disabled people. Because, number one, I can speak for myself, and I don't think the games need to change. Number two, it implies that I need an easy mode to enjoy the game. And that offends me. Because as a gamer, and when I get involved in anything, I don't like to do things half-baked. Like, in World of Warcraft, I use mods, I use macros, I use things that are in the game to make the game more accessible to me. I don't expect Blizzard to add one-button macros and one-button rotations into the game for everyone, right? I don't expect that. I can use macros. As long as macros are in the game, then I will use them. If Blizzard decides tomorrow that they're going to say, you know, we don't like macros, we think it makes the game too easy for everyone, well, that's going to be a hit, but I'll find another way. And if I don't find another way, then I'll find another game. Because at the end of the day, a game developer has a right to say, this is how we think the game should be played. And, you know, I think Blizzard does a lot to make things more accessible. I think that there are great, like, I remember playing Spider-Man on PS4, and they were like really cool accessibility options. And I'm like, dude, that's great, you know? Like, there like things like you can hold the button down instead of having to tap it really fast, because it's like that doesn't really change anything. We'll make the UI bigger. Those are things that don't change the core gameplay experience, right? Like, unless you like consider like, well, tapping the button isn't an experience. I mean, I guess if you want to split hairs, but it doesn't change the nature of what the game actually is. You know, same with WoW. Like, if I spend the time to develop a macro in the game that reflects the rotation, it doesn't change the experience. I'm just hitting fewer buttons. That's no different than when they, you know, put things on cooldown and take things off cooldown just for whatever reason. So it's like, and even then, I mean, like, you have keybinds. You're using what the game offers you. The experience to me is, you know, doing the best you can to kill the enemies, getting experience, like all that kind of stuff, getting gear, all that stuff is still intact. There are no head starts, there's no easy mode, it's still challenging. I'm still as limited, if not more limited, than everyone else. In fact, if anything, I'm missing out on the experience, because it's not like my damage is like so much better than everybody else's because I'm using one button. It's like, it comes at a price. So, you know, it's like, there's only so much that I think you can change. Like, there are acceptable changes and there are unacceptable changes, and the argument can be like, well, you know, it doesn't change, like, adding a difficulty doesn't change the core gameplay. It's like, in that game, specifically, yes it does. Because difficulty is interwoven into the game. Like, again, like, you know, and I'm getting into that aspect of it. It's like, that's my opinion. And I'm sharing I share that opinion because it's like, that's my opinion, and that's why I don't like it when these journos speak for me. Because I may have the wrong opinion. Like, I may be wrong. That can be debated. But I still maintain that because I don't share their opinion, I don't appreciate that they speak for me. And that they imply that they're speaking for me and that I need easy mode to enjoy a game. I don't think that's the case. I think that a lot of times, and more so, that it's not like they care about people with disabilities anyways. It's about them changing the game and you know, standing up to this culture, the gamer mentality, because that every chance they can, whether it's invoking certain political views. Let me see if I can. Oh, geez. I don't even know how I drew aggro on that, but whatever. We'll just run back. You know, whether it's like invoking certain political views, certain ideologies into a game, or changing the way a game is to not appeal to a classic gamer, someone who likes to, you know, be challenged, invest time. It seems like those kinds of things aren't welcomed by a certain sect of journalists and other, you know, pundits. They want to use disabled people as a shield to push their agenda. That's how I see it, and I guess that's a little tinfoil hat, but I'm not their shield. I'm not going to be their shield. I'm not going to be used as a pawn or as a tool to get what they want, which is not something that I want in my games. Like, I raged when I was playing Mario Party, and there was, like, this stupid option. Like, I was having trouble with, like, one of the mini games. Like, there's this part where you go through, like, a single player mode, and I was having issues with one of the mini games, and after, like, losing 3 or 4 times, a pop-up came up like, you're having trouble, want to skip this? And I'm like, get that out of my face. I don't want to skip this. That's so stupid. Like, I get that it's, like, it's optional, right? I didn't have to do it. I hate that that's there. I hate that there are, like, that appeals to people. Like, it's like, Where's the sense of challenge? The sense that this is a video game. It's a game, right? I guess I'm gonna use the bird for a little bit. I don't know. Like, I there's a part of me that gets that, like, well, it's a single player game. People can do what they want. You know, you don't have to use it. It's optional. I get that. At the same time, it's just like, why? Like, why is that the mindset now? Why can't people just rise to the challenge and push themselves to be better? Because, like, well, because video games are for fun. It's like, well, you don't have a monopoly. I guess that's the thing. I don't have a monopoly on the term fun. For some people, rising to the challenge isn't fun. It's just fun to lolly, you know, skip around the game and with a lollipop and just see it. Even though you could watch a video and do that. I don't know. It just perpetuates a mentality that I hate. And it's not my place to tell people how to play games. But I also think it's not people's place to speak for me as a disabled person and tell a game developer that they're discriminating against me because they don't have a harder mode in the game. Sorry, knock at the door. So, as I was saying, I don't personally feel discriminated against by From Software. Maybe you do. I would probably debate you on that because I think that sometimes there's only so much that you can do. There are a lot of different types of disabilities. I understand that. But even if you feel discriminated against, you don't speak for me. So, and again, it's very dangerous to say, like, oh, you know, they're discriminating against. Like if we're going to start saying that difficulty in a video game is discrimination or makes the game inaccessible, like, man, like, where does that go? Like, how far do you take that? I mean, whenever I play, I can't compete in Fortnite. Does that make Fortnite? Is that discrimination? Is it inaccessible? Like, what could they do? Auto aim? I mean, how far does that go? Do you have to take away all skill in any game whatsoever to make it, accessible to everyone? Like, you can't always, keep a game intact and also have an answer for every single occasion. And before people say, well, you're privileged, it's like, no, I get missed out on a lot of stuff. Like, and that's something else I hear. People that like, I've heard people throw that around. It's weird. It's like, people, whenever someone says, like, oh, no, like, don't mess with the game. Well, you're just privileged. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, privileged. Like, what do you mean? Able privileged? Like, that's the term? You're an ableist? That's insane. Because you like a game and you think that it should be challenging and you don't think it should change? Like, that's where we're going to take this now? Because that's the only way this can ever get, where they can ever get what they want, is by pushing that thought. It's discrimination, you're privileged, you're, like, all, oops, I didn't mean to attack him. That was a mistake made by a blind guy. Gee, the game's discriminating against me. Like, it's just like, I don't buy into that. I don't have that us versus them mentality. I don't view people that aren't blind as privileged. And I've had people tell me, like, accuse me of using my vision as a cop-out. It's like, even then, I'm like, nah, I don't, like, that's just, like, the way they think. And, like, it's, I don't know. It's just, I don't think of it as like, you're discriminating against me. It's like, no, you just have a stupid opinion. And so, like, I don't know. Like, I just don't, like, there are lots of people that have a problem that I use macros because they fear, like, what if this becomes the norm in the game? What if this makes people suck? It's like, I mean, those opinions aren't unfounded by any means. I just don't think it will. But that I get why people have that opinion. I sympathize with that opinion. If people use these macros instead of learning how to play their classes, yeah, I could see that being a problem. In fact, I discourage that kind of thing. Don't do that. If you don't have to use macros, I recommend that you play the game the normal way. If you do use macros, I still recommend that you learn how to play your class. Like, I don't find those concerns unfounded, like these people seem to do with like Dark Souls and with other games. Like, I get the concerns are valid in my mind. So like, again, like I think that when like it's fine to debate it, it's fine to say to debate the issue. People have a right to their opinions. I think it gets dicey though when you start again speaking for all disabled people. Using disabled people as a tool to push an agenda. I don't like that, and I most certainly don't like the idea that a company is discriminating and making a game inaccessible by not changing the core fundamental gameplay experience. I think that is absurd. That's like saying that Major League Baseball should be should change all of the gameplay functions and the way the game is played so that I, a visually impaired person, can play it. I will never be able to play Major League Baseball. It's a game, right? I can't play it as it is without changing the core fundamental experience of baseball. It's the same with Dark Souls. Like, if you want to add colorblind mode, if you want to increase font size, if you want to change button mapping, those are all great ways and means to make a game more accessible. But when you start to, get into, changing difficulty and that kind of stuff, and just, whatever to change the fundamental experience, I think that's a little bit more about what the game is, and there's only so much you can do. Just like there's only so much that EA can do to make Call of Duty more accessible for me. There's only so much they can do because the game uses camouflage. It by default is designed to make players harder to see. So whenever I go play it, I struggle with that. I'm at a massive disadvantage by default. Is that the developer's fault? Are they discriminating against me? No. It's the game. It's what the game is. It's how the game's designed. And it doesn't, just because I can't do it doesn't mean that other people shouldn't be allowed to. It's ridiculous. And again, I know that like it's optional. It's like, yeah, it is optional, but it still changes the game. I mean, because like suddenly people that would otherwise challenge themselves to play it as it's meant to be played will suddenly start using an easier mode. They'll be tempted constantly to play on an easier mode, and the next thing you know, everybody's playing it on easy, or a lot more people are playing it on easy and not getting the experience that you, the game developer, want them to get out of it. I don't think that's an unreasonable position to take. And again, I keep emphasizing that, not because I don't think it's debatable, I think it is debatable, but because I'm frustrated that people were speaking for me, and people still are, and they're trying to use me, or other people like me, and speak for all disabled people and say that this is how it should be. I don't know. I keep re-emphasizing the same thing. I can go around in circles on this all day, but it's just one of those things that I hate this mentality. I hate this victimhood stuff. I've never thought of myself, even though I'm disabled, even though I'm disadvantaged, even though I've been screwed over many times because of my blindness, and I'm always trying to find ways to rise above it and overcome it. I hate this. I've never thought of myself as a victim. The only times I've ever genuinely felt discriminated against were when I was flat out insulted by someone for being blind, or told flat out. And in fact, I feel more discriminated against that by an article that insists that I need a different game, like a different game mode. I need an easier mode in order to experience the game and be successful and enjoy the game. That, to me, is far more offensive. And I guess that's why it's on my mind. And so, like, I don't hate casual gamers. I don't hate people that think, like, well, I wish that all games appealed to me and all games were easier. I do detest that mindset, because I think that it's okay to have a variety of games, and I don't think they all need to appeal to you or me. I think that's the benefit of having a variety of games, having a variety of game developers to make all sorts of different games. And yeah, you might like some aspects of a game, but that doesn't mean that the game overall is for you. There are people on YouTube that are playing that game. You can get the story from that. But overall, the game is what it is. It's what it's made to be, and I don't think that that is a problem. So, like, that's my take on it, man. Like, I don't want to be used as a tool for those kinds of things, and I will always stand against that way of thinking. I don't buy into it. I'm not a part of that. And, you know, I don't normally get into this kind of stuff, you know, and I really wasn't even planning on talking about it here, but, like, it's been on my mind over the past, like, week, like, ever since I first heard about it. Like, I had been hearing about people complaining. It reminded me a lot of WoW, and then I heard them invoke the disabled, as if all disabled gamers need to have easy modes and can't rise to the challenge. I'm so offended by that thought process. You have no idea. So anyway, that's not to bring any negativity in there. I don't know. Maybe you guys will have thoughts. I'm sure if you do, you'll let me know in the comments below. And you might even disagree with me, which is fine. But even if you disagree with me, you don't speak for me, and I don't speak for you, for sure. So yeah. Anyways, back to WoW. Heaven forbid they ever add something like that in WoW. Like, I remember a good example of accessibility in WoW. There's a couple things that they've done that I've, you know, like, because I've even talked to developers about it, and I've mentioned it on here before, but like certain things that they did in WoW that made it more accessible were, like, you know, adding the gold outline, the yellow outline around quest objectives was a huge one. A good example of accessibility that doesn't have fundamental gameplay changes, just makes it easier to find items. You know, unless, like, you were deliberately trying to hide items, in which case that would kind of kill the mode. It'd be like having an Easter egg hunt and putting and, like, just putting them out in the middle of nowhere because, like, or out in the middle of nothing, like making them easy to see because, like, it's no longer a hunt now. It's weird. But yeah, so that's a good example. Like, the outlines is good. The nameplate changes that they did were huge, making the game much more accessible. That's always nice. Being able to scale up the UI is a good example. And just having mods be in the game to allow mod writers to come up with cool things that will make the game more accessible is also very nice. So, like, those are examples of things that I think are acceptable accessibility options. Something that I wouldn't think would be acceptable would be like what they've unintentionally done, which is take a rotation and grind it down to its bare bones so that you only have to press like one or two buttons just to do the rotation to make the game more accessible. I don't think that's a good option. I think that dumbs down the game. Even though I use macros, I get that I use macros, but that's something that I can go in and program in myself and come up with options. And so that's why I share those. I don't, just because I do that doesn't mean that I think that Blizzard should, you know, specifically change the rotations to be more like my macros. That's a horrible idea. That would hurt the game for so many people. So, you know, it's my opinion. Again, I might not be 100% right. It's just my opinion. I'm not saying that I am. But, you know, I don't know. I don't know where things are going with this. I don't know where, you know, where gamer mentality is going. I don't know why I constantly feel like I'm under attack. Whenever I read a games article these days, it gets old. And I'm not on their side. I'm honestly on my side. I want the game experiences that I want to have, and that's that. So, anyway, that'll about wrap up this episode. We're going to turn in these quests. Look at us already at level 26, and we're going to keep going in Red Ridge Mountains. I will try to find those dirt piles and get that quest done, and I will see you guys next time. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, let me know by clicking that like button, and feel free to share it with your friends so they can enjoy it as well. Don't forget, you can subscribe to the channel and click on the bell icon to be notified as soon as new videos are posted. You can also follow me on Facebook and Twitter, and if you'd like, you can support this channel on Patreon. Links to all of this can be found in the description below. This is Kephas. Until next time.